Good afternoon, everyone. Hello and welcome to the 86th edition of Raid Your Fridge. This is Pia Bernal, your Fridge Master and Kickstart's Community Manager. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. We have participants coming from different parts of the world. Welcome to our monthly startup mixer, Raid Your Fridge. This is something that Kickstart Ventures does every month for the local ecosystem. And the upside of shifting our community mixer to online is that anyone who's in any part of the world can join us. And I hope you are excited with today's topic. We have a great lineup of speakers. And I hope you are going to be giving us really choice or great questions. Basically, all questions are welcome, and we usually encourage you to ask because it encourages more learning beyond the presentation slides that were shared by our speakers. But before we begin the program, just a few housekeeping reminders. You will see there that we are going to be encouraging questions from the audience. We are soliciting questions from the audience, but please put them in the Q&A box, which you see at the bottom of your screen. We are, of course, live streaming this now on Facebook. So we have a Facebook account at KickstartPH. So we're now live. So hello, everyone joining us via the Facebook page. If you have questions for our audience in the Facebook page, please put them in the comment section, and we will get the questions and raise it here in this during the session. We are recording this session. Of course, I forgot to click record as per usual. But at least it's to be transparent to everyone, it is being recorded. And then lastly, the founders, Gabe, Michelle, and Kais, are happy to extend their stay beyond the program to hang out with you guys. So we're going to leave the room open for everyone. So if you want to engage directly the speakers after the Q&A, we will open the room for 15 minutes. So it's really just mirroring what we do offline for Rate of Fridge. Whenever our program ends, audience members rush to the front to surround the speaker and ask questions directly that they were shy to ask during the program. So today at Radar Fridge, we are pleased to have SatisFIND as our speaker. Joining us, of course, I've already mentioned their name, but happy to reintroduce them. So as I mentioned your name, please wave. Please meet the co-founders of SatisFIND, Michelle. Hello, Michelle. She is dialing in from India, Hyderabad. And Kai Patel.
Hey, everyone.
And then locally based, Gabe Baradi from SatisFIND as well.
Hello.
Gabe. Okay. So as I said, Michelle and Kais are joining us from India. They are active in the local startup ecosystem there. So representation through them. So anyone who's interested to join that community, just reach out to Kais and Michelle. SatisFIND. SatisFIND is a tech startup we first met in 2015. It was an introduction to us by AC Health, one of our affiliate companies in the Ayala Corporation, and who, by the way, was our speaker last year. So yay! So it's so fortuitous that the guys who introduced you to us were our speakers last month. So SatisFIND founders, we like them so much. Their subject matter expertise, and they have a really great paid-forward attitude that in 2016, we invited them, hey, would you like to join our mentor pool for the Kickstart investment portfolio? So they've done one-on-one sit-downs with some of our portfolio companies, and then we've also organized workshops for our portfolio companies with Michelle and Kai's running them. And then, so what is SatisFIND? So briefly, SatisFIND, they're a company that works with businesses to help businesses accelerate recovery through better performance at the front lines. So yeah, so that's the one-line pitch, Michelle. How did I do? Thanks.
I think you did great.
So without further ado, let's get started. I'm handing all over the screen now to Michelle, Kais, and Gabe for their presentation. Thank you.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Michelle again from SatisFIND. So I'm joining from Hyderabad, India. I've been here for 2 years now. Okay, so I believe this topic, redefining your value proposition during a pandemic, with the hope to crisis-proof your brand or your business, I feel it's very relevant, and we're very excited to share with you how we went through the same process, because I felt that if we were able to do it in 8 weeks, I'm sure the most enterprising of you would be able to even do better. So, and we hope that the lessons and the experience that we'll share with you might help your business if you're starting up now, or maybe you already have one that you intend to iterate or even pivot. Okay, so this looks like a perfectly ordinary day way back in 2019. Now, if for half a second you felt uncomfortable with this image, that's perfectly all right, because our world has changed and nothing about it is normal. I think every week or every other day, I would get an invite for a webinar that has the words new normal. I used it before, but for me, it has become a cliche. But what bothers me about the term new normal is nothing about it is normal. I don't want this to be normal, because every business owner right now, us, you guys out there, you are fighting for a second chance. We need to redefine our value proposition. It's no longer optional. I remember when we were coming up with this topic, Pia asked me, is it a must? Is it optional? And I said, you have to do it. And later on, I'll tell you why. And this pandemic is actually an amazing filter, weeding out the strong from the weak brands, filtering the strong players from the weaker players. It's not a situation we wanted to, but in every crisis, it allows opportunities for many out there who are hungry enough to survive in this situation. Now, the topic that we are covering today is all about value proposition. It's such a big word. I mean, if you're in startup, in an ecosystem, you would probably like living this, breathing it, eating it every day. So, but for the others who are new to this concept, what is it? It's the promise of a value to be delivered to a customer. And at the other end of that, there is a thing called perceived value, which means at what value will customers be willing to pay for that product or for that service based on their need. So there has to be a fit between the value that you are proposing to a customer. It cannot just be a value proposed and you're not even sure who the customer who is intending to buy. There has to be a customer in mind. And you get the right fit when the customer is actually willing to pay for it. Not a freebie, not on discount, giving you their money, take my money, because there's a fit with the value. So just a quick background on SatisFIND. We are an early stage startup, but we have 15 years experience in experience management and in customer service research. The interesting part about our business model is that we rely on the offline human experiences and linking that to the online customer experiences. They have to be aligned because you have to have an offline or an online mode of channel. Now, what this crisis gave us is actually in an instant when the lockdown was announced all over the world, we got disrupted massively because our business model relies on having hotels open, airlines being on time, airports open, non-essential stores, and restaurants being able to accommodate customers every day. So in an instant, that disappeared. And we went through probably the same anxiety levels, the same confusion that every other startup founder or business owner must have gone through the past 20 weeks. But we were able to redefine our value proposition in a short period of time because we needed to. Otherwise, we're not going to survive. Just to share, we have 11 offices now because every team member now is an office. It's across India, Philippines, and even Spain. Together, we manage over 12,000 customers who we call SatisFinders. And we are now present in 24 countries. We are a very diverse team. Together, we are fluent in 12 languages. And we want to keep increasing that as we increase our team members. We are very proud to have a 50-50 gender split, and we'll always maintain that. We have a good mix of millennials, Gen Xer, and even one boomer. And 70% of the team members are parents. In fact, during the quarantine, 2 of our team members became new parents to newborns. So in spite of all the sadness and the chaos, there were little moments of celebration within our team. SatisFIND has been providing value across verticals from single store brands to a global unicorn. And Pia mentioned earlier how we met. It was really through Ayala Health from Family Doc and Generica. But SatisFIND won't have its full story if it weren't really for the business units and the brands within the Ayala Corporation that first trusted in SatisFIND. When I started this, I was 27 years old, a kid, and that was how it grew 15 years later. So you can see that the verticals that we service are the most disrupted because of the pandemic. Now, what is really the problem that we're trying to solve at scale? It's bad customer service. It has become so ordinary, if you might say, that people have forgotten it's even a problem. When you hear someone tell you about a really bad experience that happened to them, or you read about it on Facebook, maybe on social media, if you're no longer bothered by it, it means that you have accepted it to be an everyday thing. You have normalized bad customer service. But if you think about it, the worst experiences bring out the worst in us. I'm traumatized, and I remember fully all those bad experiences, and simply because of inefficient customer service. Why do we have to go through that? It's not worth it. And for every bad experience, it's not just a customer who suffers. It's also the frontliner who is also a victim of a bad system, of an inefficient system. So we need to have the solution for this. What I'm saying is it's not rocket science, but sending more people to space seems to be an easier problem to solve, right? Compared to bad customer service. Now, the interesting part, and I'm sure the innovators here who are in AI, you know that as machines become more human-like in their reasoning and in the way they actually speak with us, it's so ironic because human frontliners, prior to the crisis, have become more mechanical in transacting with us. So can you see the pattern there? If machines become more human-like, while what makes us human are getting diminished because of bad systems, maybe bad culture in organizations, what does that leave us in the future? What will happen in the future generations? Is it all just going to be machines serving us in the stores? So we are obsessed with this problem. I'm obsessed since the past 15 years because we live in a world of infinite problems with a finite number of problem solvers. SatisFIND is one of them, and we invite you to solve this problem with us. In the next 30 minutes, we would like to challenge you to open your mind to at least one of these 5 SatisFIND lessons that we hope would shake your belief. First is responding to customer complaints is not customer service. Safety measures in your store or in your restaurant are not what will help you survive. Third, yearly customer service training is not worth spending money on. And fourth, customer satisfaction is not the goal. And last, which might be controversial, customer experience is not the business recovery strategy that you need now. Welcome to our world. We'll be excited to shake your mind for the next 30 minutes if you stick around and wait for the lessons. Okay, guys, I'm turning it over to you.
Thank you, Michelle. So the first lesson, responding to customer complaints is not customer service. Michelle. The problem of customer service begins with not understanding what it really means. Responding to customer complaints is not customer service, it's actually customer recovery. So customer recovery is actually a reflection of how empowered your staff is internally. You know, there's been so many times where you've had to repeat yourself to a frontliner and then make that person understand, and the person says, I can't help you, I'll have to scale it up to the next person, and you have to repeat your story again. What happens for the customer at this time is you lose patience. Your trust in that brand is also starting to diminish by this time. You're getting frustrated and angry because you have had to repeat yourself, or the problem, which is so simple in your head, is not easy to get across to them. And this, some people will end up ranting on social media, and there are groups for this where you have opportunities to let it out. But on the other side, the employee is also facing the same problems. You know, he is not confident when he faces the next customer who might have that same problem, because he's not empowered enough to resolve it at his level. He's diminishing in trust in himself and in his company, and that leads to fear, anxiety. Because for us, what we believe is that the best-in-class experience for this kind of a situation should be a first contact resolution. Now, I come from the hospitality industry background, so I've been exposed to some of these. And one example is Ritz-Carlton. They have an amazing empowerment solution for their team. No matter what questions asked, they have a certain budget. They can spend it and resolve a customer complaint, and their boss and their top management will fully endorse and support them. Another example is Starbucks. I mean, you've seen that there's usually a board that says there, if your drink is not right, we'll fix it. So that barista, the people in that store can fix and make your experience recovered. The problem with customer service goes deeper because people don't know who really owns it. You know, the more confused the structure is, who is the one communicating, who is the one carrying the data. The frontliners who should have the data don't really have it. There's like data silos, communication silos, and that ends up to the picture that you see on the right of your screen. It's pretty self-explanatory. The best in the class experience for this is having the CEO or the president being the one directly responsible, in a way that the people who report to the director or the CEO are the ones who handle customer service, customer experience. We've seen this at a large corporation in the Philippines, and they did a fantastic job because the customer service team literally, their office was literally outside the president's office. Yeah. So what is customer service then? To us, it is selling. Look at the sales process, a typical sales process with these 5 steps. Like, you have an initial contact, you understand the needs of the person, you offer a solution to meet those needs, you close the sale, and you keep a follow-up. The sales process or customer service process is a mirror of the sales process. It's you approach the customer, you greet them sincerely, you make eye contact, you offer your products, you ask them if they're coming to your store for the first time, maybe they can understand your brand better, share with them your promotions, understand the needs of the person, then sell them something, suggestive selling, upselling if the item is, if they're decided on something, give them something complimentary for that, you know, confirm the order, and then make them ask if they're part of a loyalty program. If they're not, make them join, and process the payment efficiently. Efficiently means speed and accuracy. And of course, say thank you and request them to come back again. Yeah, so that's the process. Now, every owner or every business really wants to approach it that way, but the frontliners are not trained and they cannot do this effectively. What happens is, even before COVID, the reality was that staff, you know, seemed to be quite disengaged. They looked at the customer, but they really didn't go ahead and approach them. They just continued to do their work that they were doing, stocking the racks, folding shirts, etc. Or in some cases, they're overly intrusive, like in India. They'll be standing right behind you to ask, what do you want? What do you want? And so sometimes it's, you need to ask them to follow up, otherwise it's totally intrusive. If something is not available, you're not usually sold an alternative, you're just told it's out of stock. There are lapses in asking if you're part of the loyalty program. or even something as simple as thanking you and asking you to come back again. So for a situation like this, the best-in-class experience for us is have a combined proactive selling through service strategy. So the frontliners are not just there to service a request, but they're also selling. And they only can do that if they're empowered. So this COVID situation, the pandemic, has brought about a total new set of challenges for everyone before you open, or some of you who might have been fortunate enough to already open. The reality is the safety measures in your store will not help your business survive. Compliance, these are some of the reasons we feel. Compliance, okay? You are going to be following the safety rules that you set out yourself. Some of you have to be mandated by the local governments, but you set these out. You publish them on your social media to attract your customers to come back. But if you don't follow them at the store level, you will be sending a wrong message to both the customer and to your staff, okay? Another part is the customer engagement part. Now that to be compliant, your staff is probably having to wear protective gear, a mask, face shield, gloves, and they can't smile through that mask. You can't see the smile. You can't embrace the warmth that they have. So the interactions you have sort of are diminished in their quality. And the staff will have to make an extra effort to be able to engage with the customers. Also, because of the social distancing norms, you are reduced in the number of people that you can attract to your store or restaurant. So in the Philippines, it was 30% earlier, now it's 50%. We have some clients who are getting 50% customers are allowed, but they don't get all the 50% customers, and they can't deliver that same level of service they were doing before. And so upselling opportunities are missed. People want to eat and leave. And lastly, customer satisfaction also goes down because again, the 6 feet social distancing between the frontliner and the customer makes the experience transactional. I mean, there's not that many opportunities to do suggestive selling and inquiring, probing into the customer's wants and needs. So best-in-class experience for this is service that will deliver safe and satisfying experience will be the one to be successful. So I'll now pass it on to Gabe to take you to the next lesson.
Thanks, guys. The next lesson that we have found in SatisFIND is that yearly customer service training is not worth spending on. Now, before you think that we're trying to say training is not worth it, hear us out. The problem of training even before the pandemic was that the content and the distribution was already a challenge. With this COVID, with this lockdown, it gave more challenges that if you cannot train everyone in the organization, any training that you spend will not be meaningful. So this was a problem we saw before, and it has been magnified now. Before the pandemic, there was a problem we were already working on solving: delivering training to frontliners in an easier manner. But Michelle would always remind us that for the businesses, the logistics, the time, and the cost is a challenge. That's why you cannot close all the stores to train everyone at the same time. But as you all know, we spoke too soon. So we found ourselves on the 3rd week of quarantine, hearing from our customers and hearing from the industries. Yes, some frontliners in necessary industries could go to work, but a vast majority of service frontliners had to stay home because of quarantine. They could not work, they could not earn for their families, they could not participate in rebuilding the businesses they were once part of. So everybody in the service frontline was suddenly at home. And we were thinking, how do we help the service frontliners? Even before COVID, these people were at the heart of our mission, both to help our customers and to help their frontliners. So we decided this was a good time to give back by coming up with our Reboot training program. At first, we had 2 clients who were willing to pay for this training. And this was going to be an e-learning course designed much like Netflix in 10-episode seasons. But we said we wanted to reach more people and help more frontliners. So we decided to give this whole training free. What did Reboot cover? We determined that the necessary skills to be able to serve again once businesses were open was that frontliners should have service growth mindset, self-leadership, sales, and customer recovery. So all of these skills are in the Reboot series that we have decided to give for free forever. And this is on our YouTube channel, this is on our Facebook page, and on our new website. So we uploaded weekly Q&A videos also to answer questions that were posed to us after people saw our videos. In the end, we ended up releasing 29 micro-learning videos in a span of 8 weeks during the quarantine. Due to this program, we were able to keep engagement for our brand. We were also able to provide a learning program for our own team while sharing our expertise with other frontliners. We created value during the quarantine. What was the insight behind Reboot that we created? First is that customer service was already a problem before. And you heard this from both Kais and Michelle earlier. We envisioned that when stores reopened again, because of the many challenges that were now on top of the usual challenges from before, it would make recovering the business even more challenging. Second, especially now after quarantine and after all the effects of the pandemic, everyone still needs upskilling. This was a problem before and a bigger problem now. First is for frontliners who still have their jobs. Upskilling will help them keep their work and help their customer, their employer, recover the business faster. Second is for the frontliners who have lost their jobs, and there are many of them. This upskilling program will make them job ready when businesses are able to hire again. There will be an oversupply of talent, and only those with the skills and the right attitude will get ahead. Number 3 is that for some employers who really had no choice and had to let go of their employees, this was one way that they could show compassion. Before they let the employees go, they could go through the Reboot program and upskill their employees who are leaving so that they might find a job maybe with another employer. So it was a way of showing compassion to their own frontline. Another lesson that we saw was even though upskilling is a priority, we wanted businesses to focus on their own operations and on dealing with the challenges. We wanted businesses to save time and money from creating their own program and having to reinvent the wheel. That's why we created the program for them, given our 15 years of experience in this business, and that's why we made it for free. We also wanted to help training consultants who may have been struggling to keep their own clients because, let's face it, during a crisis, training is the first thing that loses a budget. So we wanted this to help training consultants so that they could have material to still help their clients, maybe at a lesser price than they would have charged. And third, this Reboot would also help employers with their own internal communication. We wanted employers to have a way of engaging with their workforce, even if everybody was on quarantine. So they would watch the videos and discuss the videos with their employees. We give them guide questions to have their own town hall sessions. We made all the activities related to training and reinforcing the lessons easier for them by giving them the guide that they could use. Michelle would always remind us from time to time when we were coming up with this program is that sharing our knowledge will not make us poorer, nor will it diminish our worth. And if we cannot go beyond the extra mile for others during this time, how can we challenge anyone else to do the same? So the team, and of course Michelle, felt that walking the talk must begin with us. Knowledge and information that can help anyone become a better human being, like air, should always be free. To talk more about what we just said, we have Michelle to discuss that with us.
Thanks, Gabe. It's nice to be reminded of those words. It rings so true now, more than ever. The next lesson is customer satisfaction is not the goal. Now, in the past 8 weeks that we were creating and releasing the Reboot videos, we actually would cram it sometimes. Gabe would have issues with the internet. While we were in India, we were fine here. But it was really because we committed. We sent the companies guides on when they should expect each episode to come out. So it was really, in a way, a crazy time for us too, like writing the content, shooting it, DIYing it, just using our phone camera. But the thing is, it's all about the content and how we made it. We patterned it after the masterclass. Typical online training videos would make the audience a third-party viewer. So when that happens, it's so easy for you to disconnect, right? Check your phone or make coffee. But if the person in front of you is speaking to you, making eye contact with you through your phone, through your laptop, or any other device, there is that personal connection. So that was really the intention of the first set of online microlearning videos that we created. Now, while this was going, we were so busy. The rest of the team were also preparing for the new platform. So imagine by April, we were supposed to have launched a new platform. And we were supposed to have been testing it in the 24 countries that we are present in. And all that got disrupted. So while we refocused our engagement with our clients, with new clients, and to the general public through the reboot, the team, the operations and the tech team were still busy developing the products. But for the founders, this gave us enough time to have the most difficult conversations. And that surrounded about the value proposition. Are we still relevant? How are we going to face this new world? How are we going to provide even more value to the markets that we serve? So if you agree with me that customer satisfaction is never the goal, then you got it right, because it's always about customer delight. Now, it took us so long to really validate in different industries, different markets, that it's possible to achieve consistent customer delight if you begin with consistency in customer satisfaction. Now, customer satisfaction and being consistent are two different things. Believe me, it's tough because it requires so much from a company. And I'll tell you more about what it will take to reach that. Now, if you break it down, there is a very easy to understand formula in what makes an experience great. It's having a good product, it's having a good place or distribution, and it's having good service. So if you get these three right, but only at the good level, simple math, it gives you a great experience. So imagine, one doesn't even have to be great. They just have to be good at the same time, and you get the great experience. Now, what if you fail at place, okay? Because you cannot obviously fail with product, and you cannot fail on service that will deliver the product. So let's say you only have the product and the service. Great product has to be there with good service, or good product, amazing, great service. That is a simple formula. Now, here, there's a fine print there that's too small. We couldn't see, but it has to be consistent. Do not forget that. We cannot be great today and tomorrow, we kind of like let go of all the standards. It has to be consistent. In 2018, PwC came out with a study and a survey on the future of customer experience, where it says here that customers are willing to pay as much as 16% more if the service is good. So what more if it's great, right? So this is actually a validation about the kind of value that customers are now looking out for. It's not just about the product, it's not just about the service, but the whole experience delivering that product or the service. Now, we had to really do a lot of soul searching during this time, because as I mentioned, we had to answer this question first. We wouldn't be here if we were not able to answer this question. How do we redefine our value proposition in this new world? And from March until last week, we went through a lot of things, but I would like to share with you the highlights that really helped me get through the first few weeks of the quarantine in order to find the anchor and set the team again towards the right direction. So Pete Flint on Twitter, I really love this because it shook me, right? It like shook my belief. In April, he said, now is a perfect time to make sure that you are building a painkiller rather than a vitamin. That hit me so hard because prior to this crisis, although no one will say no to what we're saying, right? Everyone believes that customer delight is important. Customer satisfaction has to be consistent. Words are different from actions. And if customers are not willing to pay for it, it means that you haven't communicated the value that you bring. The relevance is not yet there. So prior to this crisis, we were seen as a vitamin. You're a great to have if I have the extra resources. But even if I don't get truthful, accurate feedback, and training to come with it, I still have customers coming inside my door. So that was the difference. So that really shook my reality. Okay, there was a bombing in there's a real estate lot next to me. So on cue, how can I become a painkiller when even before this crisis, I wasn't a painkiller? That was the big question. Last time I was in Kickstart, actually Gabe and Kaisa were with me also. We had a meeting with Vince. Vince is the head of innovation with Ayala. And he said one line that just like blew my mind. He said, customer delight is innovation. Who else would be able to capture it perfectly than the head of innovation of Ayala? And that was compelling. And if you think about it, why do we get obsessed with the latest gadgets? Why do we love something new, right? A business model. Why do we get crazy in the startup world? Why do we get crazy if we find a new business model that no one has thought of? It's because of customer delight being the reason for innovating. And the beauty about it is it's ever changing, ever evolving. You never reach the end if you think about customer delight. You will always be innovating. If you came up with a great, fantastic product now, tomorrow, your last season's news. So you have to always step it up. And if you, as a startup founder or an entrepreneur, you have that mindset for innovation, for customer delight, that will push you. That will set your vision, your mission so clear. You'll have so much clarity that you'll be able to lead your whole team right now in this crisis and beyond. One line that fortunately I haven't come across so much with my clients is the most dangerous phrase in the language is we've always done it this way. So just in case you're in your next Zoom call, one of your teammates says this, you just have to say, let's have a reality check. It's not a normal situation. No one wants this. Whatever it is that we're doing, it cannot be what we were doing before COVID. We have to innovate. We have to do better. And the last inspiration has always been, it's in my Instagram account. I really love it when Minette said this. I believe this was the last, the last event that Minette was a speaker, and I was there in the Kickstart venue. She said, raise your hand for the tough jobs no one wants. And I think that's the kind of life that a few crazy people have chosen. Why do we dream big? Why do we, I mean, if I could choose, I would choose an easier life, but this is where I am now. And I always saw myself raising my hand for something that's difficult. And so because of this mindset and this inspiration, it has become so easy to accept that we are living in a very uncertain time. But on the other hand, in the middle of this uncertainty, I can still control a certain level of uncertainty so that it becomes certain. Now, what are those? There are still the same basic principles that whether we're hit by a global pandemic or any other financial crisis or without, the same hold true. No business owner would start a business to disappoint a customer or to cheat a customer. There's no employee that you hire wanting to upset a customer by the time that he or she goes to work. And a customer doesn't go inside a store wanting to find fault. We all want what's best. We all want to connect with each other in a meaningful way. I would always share with some of our clients that, the online experience is there. Why would people still go to a store? We could have the food delivered. Why should we still go and dine out? Because it's innate in us to connect with other people. We need that. But right now it's being threatened. And if we don't do something innovative, something drastic in the next 6 months, these are the experiences that will slowly die because the businesses that are offering these moments for us will not survive. So the questions that resulting from this inspiration that led us to our value proposition was, what is the biggest problem of our industry, where we are? We are in the customer service space. We are in the evaluation of customer experience. How do we raise the bar so high that we don't even have to compete? I don't like competition. I need to escape competition. How do we innovate for delight? How do we become a painkiller? And how do we change the rules of the game? One word captured it. Offer the most difficult thing. Sell the most difficult thing. Trust. So the last lesson that we're sharing with you is customer experience is not the business recovery strategy that you need now. If you focus only on customer experience, you're missing the point. What you need is a trust experience strategy, where it's a combination of culture, values, purpose, how you communicate internally and how you communicate with your customers have to be in sync. Are your employees actually engaged? Are you on the way towards offering customer delight? Those are the things that you as a business owner should be mindful about. But if you really want to understand, how is trust experience different from customer experience? At the core of improving the experience of a customer is the experience of the employee. So this is the innovation that we have come up with in the past weeks that both are so important for business performance. We actually created this new category called trust experience. So if you're hearing it for the first time, it's because we created it, where both frontliners and customers have to be on the same level. With this strategy, you are giving back dignity to the frontliners. If you think about it, in any organization, the frontliners are the ones who get the least pay, least benefit, least amount of training. Even uniforms, the trainees are just in white shirts. Why is that? Why is it that in most big companies, they outsource the frontliners that will handle the irate calls? Something there is broken. I'm not blaming any company, but it's the system. And this crisis allows us to have a deep reflection on what is it that matters most. I remember having a conversation with Kais that, you know what, when we start hiring more people for customer success, for customer service support, they have to be manager level. This would be the most important people that I will hire because they have to represent us. They have to represent the brand, the values, the vision of the founders. Of course, it's a tough vision, but it has to start somewhere. So it starts with trust. That's really what our new value proposition is all about. And we're obsessed with this. Our new platform is connecting real customers with business owners and business managers. So on one side, we're inviting, actually all the viewers here, we're inviting you to help your favorite brands, your favorite store, your favorite restaurant in your community, help them stay in business. I believe that good businesses should have a shot at a second chance in the next 6 months. But they'll only know that if you give your honest feedback to them. Honest feedback does not mean that you have to be critical. For me, a fair feedback would have to be empowering. Because at the end of the day, these are people also trying their best. COVID is a crisis on human life, and we're all doing our best to just survive. But businesses need to recover so that their employees and the families that they support survive. On one side, we ask the businesses, does your business deliver an experience customers can trust? And for us, how do we define trust? It's a combination of 3 things. It's safety, it's service, and it's great sales. It's not in sequence. They have to overlap. Throughout the whole journey of a customer with your store, these 3 things have to be present all the time. So we created a new category called Trust Experience. We created a new metric called the Trust X Score. So imagine as more feedback are given to a brand, they can start publishing the Trust X Score. So they hold themselves accountable. This is not just a number, but the number means something. And we have broken that down. We know what trust means. We know what it takes to actually build trust. So it's one number, but the analysis behind it is so rich and deep. But through this, we cannot do this alone without empowering real customers who would want these businesses to stay in business. So through the platform, we're giving customers a voice to help the brands the stores that they care about in the communities stay in business. And we'd like to invite you to become a SatisFinder with us. So please visit our website, satisfind.com. Together, we can help more brands stay in business. Now, it's not only the category that we created, but there is a whole solution to it. Businesses, for us, should not be paying for their own data. The investment that any business gives SatisFind is for our expertise to transform the data into actionable trust insights so that we could give a Satis action plan and the right training material direct to the store level. The old process was we would get our findings from the research, from the surveys, present it to the business owner, and then hope that they would actually follow the recommendations, which would include training, which would include mentoring, coaching, or also changing some operational gaps. We cannot allow that to happen anymore because we won't be of value to the businesses if we just let the old ways again come through this period. We have to be part of the process if we want to see real transformation at the front line. So that is the new value proposition of SatisFind. We are your partners. We're there with you. The moment that you receive your feedback and your score, your staff and your store manager is also getting it at the same time. So it saves you time, money, headache having to translate it. We are subject experts in this. We live and breathe customer service. So why not give back and give everything that we got during this time to help you survive? Now, this won't work without a new business model that have to be built for scale. And for those who are familiar with our work, we are redesigning a 75-year-old industry where all the other incumbent players actually have their own fair share of trust issues. Now, through the solution that we're providing, we're giving maximum value by transforming performance at the front line. And how do you measure performance at the front line? One word: sales. Now, you've seen earlier that in 2018, PwC estimated that customers would be willing to spend from 9 to 16% more for good service, even great service. With the TrustX solution, we are committing to help your business increase revenue from 20 to 30%. That's how committed we are to help you accelerate your business recovery. Survival is not enough. Every day that you're open from now until the end of the year is a second chance. But the real recovery happens when more customers come inside. So together with our community of customers, we can help every business really recover for good. Now, I've spoken so much about how we applied it in SatisFind. How can you now redefine your value proposition and build a crisis-proof brand for your business? I have a few lessons that these are proven lessons over the years. Focus on brand building. If you only have a product, it provides a functional value. But if you create a real brand, it creates emotional value. And we've seen the best brands in the world endure time, endure founders, fantastic exits even. Observe the changing consumer behavior. So I'm a research consultant to other companies, including consumer products. And in this time, you cannot really spend so much on research. All you have to do is look at the strong brands out there, which overlap, their target market overlaps with yours. Find the insight. No big brand comes up with a new product, with a new advertising, even a social media post without a clear insight. Find the insight, use it to your advantage. That's the best way. That's my hack as a researcher that you might be able to use. Next is do a culture check. Understand how your team feels about the business decisions that you have made and how aligned were they from your core values. Normally, even in the past, we've never had a real requirement for a culture assessment. It's always an engagement survey. It's always a customer satisfaction survey. But we are in extraordinary times. And the business decisions that every business owner is making now are unprecedented. There's no playbook. Who in the world would even think that all of a sudden I have to let go 50% of my manpower? That's not a vision of a real business owner. So now is the time to do a culture check. But my warning here is how you conduct this might make or break the team. So if you need assistance, let us know. Next is leveling up on delivering trust. Understand your current trust gaps. Only then can you actually meet the gaps. The next one is interesting because this was I was in a webinar here in India, and one of the VCs said, you are in a race that is both a sprint and a marathon. So think about it, that every day you're running a sprint, but you have to be ready every day to do that sprint. That feels like you're in an extended marathon. Right now, we feel like we're in an endless weekend, right? Or an endless work week. So think about, but for a startup, it's even more challenging. So balance the strategic plans that you have with the tactical plans, but you have to know which ones are strategic and which ones are tactical. Next is take advantage of available resources. There are so many generous people right now just creating content out there. Reboot was founded on that. Kais and I were writing a book, and then one morning I said, you know what, in this crisis, who will read my book? No one, probably even me, I won't read my book. So rather than keep it to myself and wait for the publisher to publish it, I would rather create content that can benefit whoever. Even if we just had one business who will benefit from it, it's worth it. So take advantage of that. If you would like to use the Reboot sessions, they are available for free. I would recommend that you start with the leadership team first. Give them a 1-week head start so that they can role model now the lessons that they have learned and guide the rest of the team with the episodes. Only 1 episode per day is what we recommend. Next is ask for help. There's no shame in asking for help. I've asked for help throughout this whole period. SatisFIND is committing to provide a free helpline to any frontliner, any business that may be experiencing a marketing dilemma, a customer service crisis, someone hashtag you, boycott on social media, right? So send us a note, an audio message, a video, or an email. Promise we'll reply back. And lastly, same as what we've done, I'm going to challenge you to go beyond for someone. Could be a friend, could be a stranger, could be a business that you care about. Go beyond, give from your talent. It doesn't have to be financial, but the true giving is when you don't expect anything in return. Believe me, it will change you as much as it will change the person or the business that you've helped. Be a role model on giving. Thank you so much. We're excited to hear your questions.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Michelle, Kais, and Gabe, for that really great and really packed presentation. So much to unpack. I actually took a lot of notes. And then just for the audience, is there anyone from the audience who'd like to raise a question live to our speakers? Just let us know. Please click the hand icon so that we can go to you. Okay, so just to get started on the Q&A, Michelle. So you talk about the importance of insights on the deck on how the steps on how you build. How do you crisis proof your brand? So you talked a lot about, you mentioned about insights. How, curiosity, how does one find or learn, or how do you distinguish between an insight and an observation? Because I feel that is always like swapped. So what is insight? What is observation? So in the same way that people confuse strategy and a tactic.
Okay, that's a fantastic question, Tia. Okay, so I'm a qualitative researcher with a background in brand management. So if you, it's not a common combination to cross over. So observation is something that you can see, right? There's an observed behavior. People are buying this shampoo brand You can have a retail audit that will tell you all the data that this particular SKU with this variant is increasing in sales all of a sudden, maybe in one part of town. So that's observational data. It shows direct action. It shows behavior changes of the market. Now, the insight is what drove that behavior? What did we do? What was new in the category? Was it a move of a competitor? Was it us? Because if you're the market leader, you have to drive it, right? Otherwise, you won't be the leader anymore. But if it's your competitor, and let's say it's a strong competitor, then you know that they've spent so much money and research on that. And that's what I love. I mean, look at billboards outside now. Well, if there are still billboards, you look at Instagram posts. You have to understand, what is the ad trying to tell you? What is the insight is basically something that's underneath. It's not going to be obvious, but everything about that photo is deliberate. From the model that was used, from every word used in the copy, comes from an insight. So you just have to stay curious. If you are already in a category, then you should know enough about your players, right? You know what words they're using. Like here in India, the sanitizer market is going crazy. It wasn't a big thing before. Here in India, deodorant is not used really as a deodorant; it's a fragrance. So these are insights that if you are a lover of marketing, branding, and research, you'll go crazy, because everything you see, every ad, tells you something. I hope I answered it. It's not that easy, but there are enough resources also online to help.
Well, thank you. That was a really great answer. Yeah.
I would suggest talking to someone from advertising, because okay, this is how it works. Okay, it's a combination of having a researcher, the brand manager who knows everything about the brand and the product and the category, and then it's the advertising people that have to translate all those things, the data from the research, the brand positioning, into something that will drive behavior. So it would be interesting. That's why I love meetings with advertising people.
Okay, I was gonna ask something, but okay. So we have questions here from the audience. So I will read them, and then and then you can give your answer after each question. So question number one, it's from Iba Bernardo. Hi, Iba. Thank you for joining us. Great supporter and a good friend of SatisFIND and Kickstart. Question from Iba. We have transitioned our over 20 physical stores to e-com, so online. Any tips on upskilling our team to these new skills?
Okay, I will say something before I pass it on to Gabe, because Gabe's the expert here. Okay, but in terms of experience, if these are people who used to be in the offline store, right? I'm familiar with Eva's business. They are in kiosks, right? And then all of a sudden they have to be online, meaning they have to reply by chat. They have to maybe take some phone calls. Those are different channels that require different skill sets.
That's right.
Why do we train? Why in the BPO spend so much money training people? Because if the customer is in front of you, you have your whole body, you have your face, you have everything to communicate, and you have the product in front of you. You can do a demonstration. So that now becomes a challenge, because your customers, if it's purely e-com, they will ask things. What they imagine in their head about your product should be matching what your frontliners have in mind as well. So there could be a disconnect. But I leave Gabe to give the wisdom. In India, we call it gyan, the wisdom behind the training part.
Thanks, Michelle. So yeah, we're very familiar with Eva's business. Part of what we did for Reboot was to answer similar needs of not just physical stores, but even those that were transitioning to digital and online. So like Michelle said, the communication with the customer is now limited, either through phone or email. So definitely that now requires better communication skills in the form of It could be both English and Filipino if you're a Philippine-based online store. But especially in the written, where you have time to respond. Employees and frontliners now who have to do email rather than in-person selling or answering now really have to upskill really fast in written communication, in grammar, in English and Filipino, and even on the phone. So like Michelle was sharing also, just like the BPO industry where I used to be a consultant as well. It really makes a difference when the frontliner who is now online can communicate well. It really adds to the integrity, to the prestige of the brand. So that's the first thing I would look at. As to how, definitely, the whole training world has also been turned upside down, where even I'm a training consultant myself, and we don't see any in-person classroom training anymore. This COVID has really changed that. But you can still deliver training, just like we did for Reboot, in an e-learning manner. So there's two ways to do that. You can have your staff go through either our Reboot or any other resource on their own, and then to reinforce that learning, you could bring them all into a Zoom call, maybe 30 minutes to discuss one lesson. What has changed is, before we used to have in-classroom training that would go on for maybe multiple days. You could have it 8 hours a day with 20 people in class. But to do that in a Zoom setting, I don't know anyone who can sit through more than 2 hours of Zoom, actually. So 15 minutes, 30 minutes is what we suggest. And if you look at our Reboot program, it's also based on micro-learning principles. Researchers have found that if you limit the content and you repeat it often, then people have more retention. So rather than have 8-hour classes like we used to before for training, the Reboot and other resources like it were designed to have 15 to 20 minutes. Some of our episodes are actually 10 minutes. So as short and as concise as you can when you train your people, but as you repeat it, then it becomes reinforced. And then when you have a general class, then you can all discuss your own insight or your own experience from the past, and this reinforces more learning. So rather than have an 8-hour session that companies before used to allot at least 7 days of training for a whole year, now you can break that up into, let's do learning session every day, 15, 20 minutes. And if it's repetitive and it's short, then people will retain it. But definitely, besides or despite the challenge of the quarantine, you still need to do some kind of training, learning and development. Of course, we'd like to share our Reboot. That's a good start, but there are so many other resources you can use, and it also depends on the skills that you think your staff needs.
Amazing. Thank you, Gabe, for that. I guess, is it okay if I type in? Well, our guests can actually visit SatisFIND.com to be able to get hold of the founders. They just launched their website today. It's really great. It's wonderful looking. It's easy to go around. Hey, I'm delighted with your new website. But also, is it okay, Gabe, if I type your email address for all the attendees? We can send it to all the attendees on the chat box.
Okay.
So that they can also reach out to you directly. Thank you for the answer.
Thank you.
So for everybody, we are now moving on to the next question. So the question is, if we keep giving content, at what point do we earn back the time and talent? Haven't you given it all?
Yeah.
So
okay.
who's gonna take
I have
this
a
question?
Really, me, and then Kais. Okay. The Reboot, we're giving it for free because this is an offshoot. This is a byproduct of projects that we've done in the past. Right? We are not here to make money only on training. Training is a very important aspect of the solution that we're giving. So what I'm saying is, yes, training is there, but without the rest of the solution, you're still not going to get the results. And we've known that in the past, right? How do you actually measure training that you used to have before? Now, if coming from that question, if you are giving content based on something that's a revenue stream for you, there has to be a limit. Now, the best in class experience there is you tell the what, but you hold back on the how, so that the how is why the market, the audience will actually pay for your service. So, but giving content out there is inspiring others. It also builds your credibility, your reputation.
Yeah.
I remember before, like maybe 10 years ago, Kais, I would be we used to have a landline before, I mean, clients call and then they would ask
Oh my
questions. I
God.
would give advice. Like as a consultant, and Kai would say, why are you giving too much information? So I said, at the end of the day, it's about execution, right? I mean, yeah, I'm giving them beyond, I'm giving them wisdom. But at the end of the day, can they execute? So for me, again, it doesn't diminish my expertise. It doesn't diminish my years of experience if I give something out there to someone who I think would help, whether they come back to us or not. I would prefer that people, our clients, work with SatisFIND because they like us, because they trust us. But honestly, the solution that we're offering is you can't find it anywhere in the world. But for other services, of course, there's competition. Like, there's so many consultants out there, and SatisFIND would like to empower consultants also. We'd like to share our knowledge with consultants. How does it work? Consultants have an added value. We can work with HR consultants, training consultants, marketing consultants, even those who do design thinking. We don't need to get your client. We can work with you and add value to you so that you can add more value to your client. Kais, you have something to add?
Not really much. You spoke about it, but the fact that we've already monetized what we're giving away now for 15 years. I mean, the content that we're sharing now is based on the experiences that we've gathered on our own from our clients, working with our clients across so many different industries for so many years. So for us, giving it away is really a way of giving it back right now. Again, those who have contacted us for customized, personalized training, we're going to work with them separately, and that is another additional revenue source for us. That's it.
Thank you. Thank you, Kais and Michelle, for that. I will share, by the way, the email ask@satisfind.com to all the attendees if they want to connect with you directly. Okay, we have a third question. This one from Patricia Reyes. Hello, Patricia. Thank you for sending your question. So her question, all of my clients have pivoted to online and are now struggling with their brick and mortar. What kind of tools or packages can you offer to help them build trust experience? Open close, a relatively new concept. So
Okay.
can you walk her through that?
Okay, so the trust experience solution works with both offline and online. Now, if you are new to the digital space or you just set up your e-commerce site, if you don't handle the fulfillment, that could actually be the one that's killing you. Recently, I had a really bad experience here. Okay, why did I get into this line of work? It's because I'm a magnet for bad service. Like, anything that could happen will happen to me. So I was so excited. Yeah. So, okay, very typical. Okay. And I'm the easiest to, like, it's so easy to sell to me. So Kais received a text from our favorite store, our restaurant here, that, hey, we're starting to deliver. So I'm like, oh my God. So Kais did not cook dinner. I'm so excited about this dish that obviously, we haven't gone out in 20 weeks. So he ordered from a platform, because that's the only fulfillment service that restaurant delivers, uses. Oh my God, we didn't get the food. But what was worse was the customer support kept calling us and insisting that we pinned the wrong location. I mean, like, come on, why would you do that, right? So we thought it was just a miscommunication because he landed up in another part of town. But then when their customer support actually called me, and Kais just like lost it. So I'm the more patient one. So I had to take the call, even if I couldn't understand Hindi so well. So, and then I gave my address again, like twice. And then the guy insisted, I live in Hyderabad, south of India. But madam, your pin location is in Delhi. Okay, so I lost it. I'm like, you can't force a bad system, what you're seeing on your screen, on your customer. And at the end of the day, I lost 1 hour. I lost. Actually, I ate cereals that night, and then I tweeted them, and they apologized. But then So I'm never, okay, this is a long story, but my point here is because of a bad fulfillment service, my favorite restaurant suffered because I'm not going to order from them again because they use a really crappy delivery service. So the trust experience, you want it to be seamless, right? If you're using a courier, how was the package delivered to you? Because how you receive it matters, right? You try to sanitize the product, but how was the fulfillment? I mean, in the Philippines, there was like this viral thing about one courier company, right? You want to understand how the package and the product is actually experienced by the end consumer.
Anyone would like to add, or we can move to the next question? All good? We can move to the next question. Okay, so question number 4. This is from Renuka Vijay Kumar. Hello. Thank you for finding Ray the Fridge. His question is, how do you deal with a brand that continues to tell you, as a customer, this is how we've always done it? You know, it's an oft-heard refrain. How do you actually respond to that when a customer gives that to you? When a business owner gives that to you, sorry. Yeah.
I'd like to see the question again when I read it. Wait, okay. How do you deal with a brand that continues to tell you, this is how we've always done it? You as a customer, don't buy. I mean, right? Like, is it a monopoly that only that brand delivers that amazing product, right? I don't think so. So, you know, consumers are, okay, this is interesting. Here in India, I'm sure it also happened anywhere else in the world. You have your top 2 brands for every product, right? Now you have limited your grocery run during this quarantine because of safety, naturally. You go there and very limited brands are available. What we've seen here is all of a sudden, all these unknown brands started coming out on the shelves simply because the market leaders are sold out, right? And you know what? It allowed trial, you know, awareness and trial for those unknown brands. So now is their time to shine. So if I bought this ketchup and I say, you know what, it's as good as my favorite ketchup. And you know what, they have a buy one, take one offer, you know, not bad. So next time I go, I'll just buy that other brand. That's how it is now. So if you are the market leader, you cannot really protect your market anymore unless you have fantastic distribution, unless your supply chain is also like, you know, seamless. There's a lot more factors to consider now. So Renuka, you know what? It's choose your battles. That's what I'm saying. Choose your battles. You don't need the extra headache from a brand. You know, give your business somewhere else.
Great. Thank you.
Go, Gabe.
Okay, next.
Gabe wants to say something? Wait,
Oh,
Gabe wants
yes,
to say
Gabe.
something.
Sorry, I missed that.
Sure, no problem. So I'll add to Michelle's answer. Just in case that this is the answer like a consultant would get from a client, then, you know, definitely like we've learned, and like, you know, like SatisFIND has been inspired by Vince, innovation is still key. You know, innovation was already a byword before the quarantine, and everybody was saying that if you don't innovate, you will not survive. I think, you know, now exponentially that has become even more important. So if you're a consultant and you're dealing with a customer who keeps telling you this, then, you know, you really just have to reiterate that if they don't change, they don't adapt, and they don't innovate, then their brand will not survive. And that, you know, as a consultant, sometimes you do have to give the honest truth, even if it doesn't sound good. But yeah, innovation is still important for both consultants, for brands, for customers. So that's something that I would reinforce and tell the customer and your client that you need to innovate.
Thank you for that, Michelle and Gabe. For the next question, the question is, any advice on implementing chatbots thoughtfully? I've had experience with poorly built logic streams or circular responses. So we've all experienced those. That doesn't solve any problem or at all, your problem that you wanted to solve. Also frustrating when a CS rep just reiterates chatbot responses. So what are your thoughts on that?
Kais, why don't you handle this question?
Okay, this is a pet peeve of mine when I get the chatbot response from
Let's
a
hear it.
human. No, I don't want to go there. Yeah, so actually, it's for me, it's a mindset thing from the company. Are they taking care of me, or are they taking care of the business? Really, I mean, they just want to comply with that replying so that they can say I've replied and my statistics look good when I'm replying, because that's what some of these guys try to do. They just give you the response fast so they get a higher response time, quick response time in their own metrics, but they're not able to resolve your problem. So I really dislike, I would like to speak to a human at times like this, or at least a more intelligent bot that can really understand and direct me to a knowledge base answer, perhaps, if not resolve it face to face, I mean, online. So there's a lot of, there's still a lot of work to do for getting a chatbot to be really efficient in this case. I think the simplest way is if they can redirect you to knowledge base answers that have very well explained, or maybe even videos that can explain it for you. But again, it's a mindset from the company whether they want to invest their time and resources in this, especially if it's tech and things are changing very often, then they'll have to remake those videos, redo the knowledge database. So it becomes tough, but I just really feel with that person about having to receive the same response from a human being what a chatbot told me.
Anyone else, or we're good? Okay, so the next question is from Edgar Angeles. Hello, Edgar. Thank you for joining us and raising your question. He asks, how can we manage trust gaps? Who would like to take on the answer?
I can answer. But yeah, okay. So when you expose a trust gap, you have to also, you have to also understand, how did you expose that, right? How did you come out? How did it come out? Was it one staff just telling the owner? Was it a proper survey? Was it a town hall and people felt empowered to speak out? Because those would say so much. The channel, the manner and the method how you found out about the problem. If it's one person trying to bypass another, or a head telling you, what that tells you is you have a problem with your culture. So it's a way to uncover deeper issues, and that's why for this moment, in this period, you really need to do a culture check. I remember I was just talking to one of our clients last week about conducting a culture check. So we'll start with them next week, actually. So I'm excited about that. But I'll share with you how we did it. It's not easy for an owner. It's not easy for a manager to all of a sudden open yourself to all your staff. But this particular client, and maybe I think our client, this guy is watching now. Imagine one owner, millennial owner, very hardworking, handling 4 managers. Between the 5 of them, they are responsible for 211 employees. Out of the 211 employees, imagine the impact. Only 68% are able to come back. They did not lay off anyone. And that's so amazing of the owner. That says so much. But because of the reduced capacity of a restaurant at this time, they really could not. And even the people who were able to come back to work, they have to reduce their hours. So of course, there is this engagement with that. When they're comparing, how come I got 4 hours, she got 2 hours, So what we did, it's such a sensitive issue, and the magnitude of the impact is so significant. We created a micro community, and I'm a believer of this. We created a micro community, so there's 5 of us. I'm leading it, so I'm like a qualitative focus group researcher, but in a more counseling way. So I would engage with them every day, ask them how they're feeling. So the point there is you want to be authentic. You want to be really there, like you're really present. When you're in the chat, you're present. You're liking their texts, their messages, because it takes so much for these people to share also how they're feeling at this moment. So that was a segue for us to offer them slowly the reboot program. And amazing, at the first few days, no one was sharing, but then the owner finished the whole reboot season, 2 seasons. So he himself encouraged the group that said, hey guys, this is really helpful. But he was very mindful not to tell them to do it, because ordering someone to do it, obviously your staff will watch the video. They need to want it. And I was there to reinforce. So in this moment, you need to build a stronger community within your company, no matter how big the team is. Imagine this is 5 people I'm supporting, but this 5 people is responsible for 211 employees. So I'll start with that. You need to understand how you found out that you have a trust gap. And if you really want to put a system, you want feedback that your employees could trust. That's why we're here, SatisFIND.
Great. That was a great, really good answer, Michelle. I hope, Ed, it's a helpful answer to you. Again, if you want more, I've shared to all the attendees how you can reach out to the founders. Okay, so second to the last question. Now question number. Okay, this is from Minette. I love the thought behind the necessity of training and retraining your team for customer delight. But so much of the learning experience is a shared, i.e. class experience, where we see great stuff, top-notch hotel setting, great food, endless coffee supply, and great human behaviors, great concierge. Any thoughts, ideas to help the new training experience, how can we do it differently, or does it need to be different? What are your thoughts on the new training experience?
I think for this, all of us should share something, but I'll start. I'm a big Netflix fan. Okay, like whatever's on Netflix, I've seen it. So how come we are so engaged when we're talking about a show, right? Like I remember even when I was an employee way back in year 2001, whenever we would sit for lunch, we would talk about this show that we all saw, right? So that inspired me. Why is entertainment so powerful, and why are the entertainment companies now amazingly doing well? It's because you have a shared experience with people, and you're able to talk about it. You feel excited about it. Now, what's broken with training? I have to make it clear. What we're saying, whenever we say training is broken, it's in the context of customer service training. Okay. Because customer service training, to get to the person that you're training, has to be with it to the heart. I mean, in Tagalog, with the advertising, what kind of advertising material would make that person buy, like later or tomorrow? Kurot sa puso. Like, it tugged my heart. So same way, if I really want to get to my staff, the kind of training has to be emotional, because it's customer service. How can you teach empathy? We said in episode 4, season 1, empathy is there. We all have empathy. But in the hotel, in the restaurant, how come people are not practicing empathy? Because they don't feel safe. So, but everyone has empathy. You go home, Pia, you practice empathy with your family. You go to this place, maybe you don't feel safe psychologically there. I got this from Martin Gonzalez. Right? So, you don't practice empathy there. Right? So the kind of training and the new training experience has to understand deep, and it comes from insight. How do people retain knowledge, have comprehension, and that's why microlearning works. But it has to be emotional enough. It would transform the person. So if you're teaching someone how to greet, wow, I mean, come on, everyone knows how to say thank you. But the problem is, why aren't they doing it when they're at work? That's the issue, because they're training here. It's an intellectual thing. They put a manual on a PowerPoint and make you sit in a classroom. They do role playing where everyone gets a perfect mark. But at the end of the day, when they're back in the stores, they're not doing it. That is the problem. That is what we're trying to solve by making it a shared learning experience through the online videos. And the distribution should be amazing. We've worked with IBA and team. So VR is something in the future that definitely is for us. So that's something that I'm sharing a bit. But yeah, VR, definitely. I see a future in that. Gabe and Kais, you want to say something? I know I've said a lot.
Actually, you said everything. The virtual reality is something that is the future as well, I feel, because that's one where you can have a shared experience. Everybody's watching, and then we have a community where you discuss your answers, you discuss what you felt about the episodes that you saw, the training materials that you saw. And these are stories. These are not going to be like, do this, don't do this kind of thing. It's going to be a story, and it has to be emotional, as Michelle said. That's it.
Gabe, you want to add something, or you're good?
No, definitely. Actually, we have all been working on this problem from before the quarantine. Way into last year, we were working on this, and that's why we asked some help from Eva, our friend, not knowing that this was all going to happen and that people were going to be isolated in their homes or not being able to go to work or into the physical workspace. So definitely, what we've lost with the in-person classroom training, whether it's on site, I think Minette would be mentioning like hotel training and how do you teach hotel skills right there. Until it's safe to go out, then we definitely need to look at all the remote options. But again, watching or viewing training material has also become challenging because you can't do it for 8 hours. So that's why we still really love the principles behind microlearning. But to answer Minette's question of how do you make it more immersive and experiential, then that's where Michelle's point that you have to hit them in the emotion, and it's not just points on a PowerPoint, bullet points that you have to read. If you give the trainees a story that even if they have to watch it alone, but when they come to the Zoom class and they can talk to each other about it, then it becomes exactly a shared experience. And we plan to innovate and go beyond and make it into a VR experience. And that really puts you in the actual situation, maybe a step away from the true situation, but at least it's still immersive and the trainee still feels like they're in the actual situation. So these are things that people need to stay tuned to SatisFIND. We will be coming out with these things, but for now, that there are limitations, it's still micro learning, repetitive, basic skills, and we focus on that for now. And then when it's safe, then all the training options are open again. But for now, it really is e-learning and micro learning in bits and pieces.
Great, thank you for the responses, guys. We have our final question. Time check, it's 3:29. So last question is, can delightful customer experience ever be fully automated, or should it? With the rise of chatbots and voice automated software in BPOs, how can brands or companies balance efficiency with providing satisfying experiences to their customers? Who wants to answer first?
Kai should answer this, but I have one word. It's really being proactive. Whatever system, whatever thing you put into, you have to be proactive. The moment that you allowed yourself to be on a reactive stance, that's no longer customer delight, definitely. Now, but if you encounter a problem, you can still turn around a bad experience into a great one if you have an amazing customer recovery system in place. So that now is linked to how empowered are your frontliners to deliver that. Like what Kais mentioned earlier. Do you have a standard for first contact resolution, or I need to talk to 3 people before my concern is escalated? So those things. Singapore Airlines, prior to COVID, of course, have always made things work. Why were they great? Why were they best in class in service? It's because they got the little things right. They're proactive. They know already that you're going to be delayed in your flight. You're going to get a message. Before you even think about it, they're already looking for you. They already, in Changi Airport, they already have a table there with a clear sign. And there's a letter that's printed. There's a voucher. There's a list of where you can use your $20. Wow, right? Like, you're not even thinking that you want that. But then they are so proactive in making you say that, oh my God, this is amazing. I'm okay to actually have a delayed flight if this is the kind of service I'll experience. So it's a mindset, and it's a real commitment to delivering delight. What I mentioned earlier, delight is not rocket science. It's being consistent with customer satisfaction. Simple as that. But you have to start with being proactive. Kais, you want to add something to this about the chatbots or something? How can we automate things?
Okay, to be fully automated, and well, the question is, should they even go that direction if technology is available? I would say with caution, because the technology is not ready yet. At the, I mean, you've asked Alexa or you've asked Siri, and you've often got inappropriate responses. It would again frustrate the customer if they didn't get it right the first time. Second is, human beings are social creatures. We do need to connect to, I mean, I called up, so I'd rather speak to a person. Maybe in the future, you may not be calling up. You probably have just video calls like this. You know, you'd quickly call and the person could be anywhere. The customer service agent may not even be sitting in an office. You may be in a home office for the foreseeable future. And he can respond to you by a video, a quick response on video. He may not even be there in person. You record your video message to them and they could reply back to you with a video message. That technology is already there. We have it on our website. We're using it for the Ask SatisFIND questions. And there's been a lot of people using it. If you're shy of video, you can use just an audio message. So I think getting that information in, that can also analyze sentiment and whether it's a neutral tone, positive tone, but going fully automated with chatbot, and I don't think we're ready yet, but, and I would do it with caution. I prefer some human connect involved.
Okay, it's our last question. Are you good? You're good? Okay. Well, that concludes. Thank you. Thank you so much, Kais, Michelle, Gabe, for the patience and the insights, the wonderful sharing that you've given to everyone during the Q&A. This concludes our Q&A session, not the event itself. But before we jump into the audience hangout, for those of you who've joined us in the middle of the session, we are opening the floor to, we are extending the session for another 15 minutes if you guys want to directly engage with the speakers. So after I give my closing reminders and announcements, we will leave the room open. We will enable the ability to talk and do video so that the founders can interact with you. So before we jump into that audience hangout, let me just share a few announcements. So our next Raid the Fridge session will be on August 27. There on your screen, we have a confirmed speaker already. Michelle name checked him earlier. It's one also a favorite Kickstarter for our investees. His name is Martin Gonzalez. He's the global lead for Google for Startups, the People Lab vertical. He will talk about, still in this theme of, you know, handling this crisis, this COVID-created crisis. How do founders overcome risks? It will be coming off from a hard data study that they did for 5 years, and he would like to share with the startup community. So if you're a startup founder or an entrepreneur dealing with all risks associated with a business, please check back in with us in August and watch out for the registration link that we will be releasing. Second, let me also take this opportunity to briefly share with you all who we are and what we do in 3 slides. It's not going to be a long presentation, my friends. So we are a Kickstart. We are a corporate venture capital firm. We are a subsidiary of Globe Telecom. We invest in tech startups globally. Currently, we have invested in 45 companies since 2012 from 8 countries. I think we've invested in 89 founders to date. So we do 4 things. We make, aside from funding, we do market access. So we reach back deep into our portfolio of relationships for business development or market access for our portfolio. We also, of course, hand in hand with funding, portfolio development. We help our startups grow and you know, scale quickly and achieve profitability quickly. And this component is the lower right quadrant, is ecosystem development. The reason we do this Raid the Fridge events is it's really an opportunity for us to connect the ecosystem to each other. So our previous events have, it's heartwarming to hear about one startup founder meeting someone who eventually became a really great customer or partner or a co-founder for his organization. I believe Michelle before shared to us that they found their first ever overseas client through one Radio Fridge session. So we invite the community for an afternoon of discussion with a great set of speakers for topics that are really relevant for you guys. So that's the ecosystem development. So this is where Radio Fridge falls under. The next slide will share with you the funds. So as a Kickstart as a investment firm, we are always looking for companies to make a bet in to invest. So we do look for pre-A to Series C startups. The slide will tell you what are we looking for, and if you are in a position who is really ready to raise additional capital, please share with us your investment proposal, your pitch deck, to pitch us at kickstart.ph. And lastly, in 2019, our friends in the Ayala group of companies in Ayala Corporation, we play a role as advisor to the Ayala Active Fund. We help them, make they invest in we help them reconnect to companies that are in these spaces. So if you are one of these companies, please send also a word to us. Send us an email at info@kickstart.ph or pitch us at kickstart.ph. So yeah, so basically that is what I wanted to share. Now this basically ends the session. We will now shift over to networking with SatisFIND founders. So for everyone who is still in the room, I see there's like 49 guests. I will now end my video, but we will be around and we will now be enabling the ability for guests to talk and so that you guys can do your own networking. Thank you, everyone. And really, thank you, Kais, Michelle, and Gabe for a wonderful session.
Thank you.
For
Thank you
our
so much.
86th
Thank
edition
you.
Raid Your Fridge.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So don't leave. I'll just turn off my video.
Yeah, we'll answer the questions that are left here and more if we have 15 minutes more. What we love about Kickstart when we had the community events in Makati was, yeah, exactly, after the speaker, it's like we would run, like Kais and I would run in front and just ask our burning question if we were too shy to ask it in front of the public. So and we felt that we as beginners, like that's 5 years ago, we learned so much from other people's questions, and we would like to offer that kind of experience also to whoever else is left here. Okay, so guys, let's look at the questions that were here. I'll read it out. Gabe and Kais, help me out here. What could be done if the CX team has gotten very frustrated with the way the metrics aspect has been implemented? The very expensive tool purchased by the company has many limitations, like number of feedback, that they ended up manually doing the metrics over and above the existing one. Wow. They ended up slowing down the CX feedback loop due to this, but the CX bosses still report positive feedback from the tool's users. We've encountered some clients, Kais, remember, it's like, they just want vanity metrics, but at the end of the day, it's the frontliners that suffer. If there is an opportunity to really present what's the real situation, Kais, maybe you can share without giving too many information about that client that had had that layers and remember, yeah, without giving too much information, just the lesson part.
Which one? There's been many like that actually. So
yeah, the one with the international global customers. Yeah, but
yeah, so
also uses very expensive system.
Yeah, so this company did use a lot of expensive softwares and systems, and they're based globally. And there was a situation where They, of course, for training purposes, record all their calls, and the ones that we evaluate for them and the regular ones. And we found that in one of the call recordings, it was a person was asking for rooms for a very somber occasion for the whole family to get together for a funeral. And the person who was handling the call asked a lot of questions related to, are you a corporate member? Do you have a membership? Would you like to avail a membership? Is this a recurring event? Do you need any audiovisual equipment? And the person on the other side was really just looking for rooms so that they can accommodate in this emergency situation the number of people that they need who are attending the funeral. But the funny part is what Michelle is referring to is that person got 100% score because he asked all the questions. Okay, so that metric is really flawed because he asked all the questions, but he did not show empathy at all. He did not even offer his condolences to that person. I was cringing when I was listening to the call, and I could feel the same in the room with the person who was there from the US, the head office. But the person in the operational office said, no, but he did everything right. He asked all the questions he's supposed to ask. So this is one of the examples of when metrics that are being tracked are wrong. I mean, in this case, the person should have first shown empathy, offered a condolence, and then got on getting that person the rooms they needed without having to go through the whole corporate questions that he was asking. So again, very poor execution and the metrics that they were tracking were wrong. He just had to ask the questions and he would get his points. So his rating looked good. Yeah. Is that the one?
So in this case, in this case, if the middle, exactly. If the middle management is your blocker to actually, exposing this kind of, it's a sickness, right? Because it kills everyone. And you know that ultimately you're not delighting, you're not even satisfying your customers. You have to find someone at the top who will champion this. We've worked with a very large organization, and luckily they approached us to help them understand their customer experience. How is it really? I insisted to also include the employee experience, and we spoke with everyone, every department. When we shared that result, oh my God, it was such an eye-opening experience for the president, for the management, the execom actually. And immediately, there are certain solutions that it doesn't even require resources, but it's killing the spirit of people every day. If you're working in CX, you need to be really strong. If you're the type of persons like me, you just absorb a lot of energy, and maybe that's why we are in this business, right? We feel too much, but at the same time, it just drains the energy out of you. Find a champion in your company among the top bosses and really have a conversation, because the fact that you are sharing this question says so much about you, says so much about how you care about your work, about that it's not right what's happening. So thank you for sharing this. I hope we were able to answer it in some way. Okay. Our CX team has 2 service recovery units, one for social media and another for the walk-ins, emails, boss referrals. These 2 units are not as coordinated. The social media unit is composed more of millennials, Gen Y and Z. They are paid better, but do less than the other unit in terms of doing less investigative legwork. They end up passing on the work to the other service recovery unit. Since these are 2 units, if it's not handled by one person, there's already something wrong with the structure, right? If these 2 service recovery units report to 2 different people, who do these 2 people? Yeah, silos. But the thing is, they're supposed to be one department. Who do they report to? If you are in a position to influence and find your way up to the top, share it. Now, whenever you try to uncover these things about your company, because you do care, you have to use less on the emotions. You have to use logic. Okay, because right now I can feel you're very emotional about this. I would also be emotional about it, right? Maybe this is the kind of work that would give you sleepless nights, give you palpitations in the morning. I mean, no one wants to go to work feeling that way. But if you're trying to influence change, Not everyone will understand it if you come from a very emotional state. So what I would do, because I'm an emotional person, is I'm great at documenting things, but in a very logical manner. So I would describe, like, observational information. I would state the facts, what's happening, but without personality. So it's not about certain people, but it's about the system. It's possible that it's not really the fault of these people also, but we are all victims of a bad system. So if you put it from that perspective, and you really want to help the structure be fixed, I think you would get more acceptance if you phrase your concern in a more logical way, rather than attacking or mentioning certain personalities. That's my advice. But I hope you would push through with this, because it's flawed. There's something wrong with the structure if this is the case. I am an employee, lucky to have a job, but unfortunately stuck in a company that is still doing the old ways. I feel you. Do you have any advice for me on how I can be a catalyst of this trust experience? How can I help my company adjust to the new situation? Email us, ask at SatisFIND. Let's work it out. We need more information, what kind of industry. But sometimes and it's not sometimes actually. Well, in our website, we say sometimes, but most of the time, you just need to give an honest feedback from a real customer, and it opens a lot of learning for the management team, and also especially for the business owner. Again, if we come from a perspective that no business owner would ever want to hurt customers and their employees, there is faith, there is hope for that company. And we need to draw the line. There are evil people, there are good people stuck in a bad structure. There's hope for the other group. So email us and we'll help you out.
I'd also like
go
to
ahead, guys.
Salute this person to say thank you for sharing this with us. And it's great that you want to be the catalyst for your company to adapt to change.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing. Please email us. Next, almost all local restaurants are now partnering with big and branded mobile app delivery service. We, on the other hand, with a small team, started also a mobile app delivery service with a system already in place. Wow. With fulfillment service and riders. Because we've seen a gap from the big operators, and we want to fill it to make a more localized solution. My question is, how can our startup create value in order to make locals use our service? Because they will always have that glitch thinking that imported service is always better than locally made. Start small. Get if you are a small business, small startup, work with other small businesses who could relate with you. Okay, this is how we started. Okay. Okay. So thank you for that. So where was I? Start with small businesses so you can build trust over a period of time, right? You just need to get more people believing in you, and also their level of expectations are also not as high as bigger operators. It's also an opportunity for you to really iron out, make your experience and your fulfillment service frictionless. So that's my advice. Start small. We all started that way, right? And actually, SatisFIND, now that we have changed our business model, we are targeting the small and medium and mid-market businesses. It's not that I'm saying no to enterprise clients, but we find more fulfillment working directly to business owners. Because again, we know that sometimes communication gets lost along the way in the leveling. I'm not sure if you have seen this thing that went viral at the beginning of the lockdown. It went viral. It was like a post about, I felt it was from a BPO company, but someone posted about, hey, if you are working from home, make sure that you're working from home. Something about don't abuse the trust of the management. And I felt so sad with that post because it reflected the kind of culture that company had. It was a property. I mean, I don't want to share it, but I'm sure you've seen it. Now, when I traced that post, it had so many loves, or like hearts, likes. So that even disturbed me more. Like, was I the only one who was so disturbed with this kind of messaging? So as a company gets bigger, the level of trust gets diluted. So if you are sincere in the work that you do, and I believe you have a market waiting for you, you have to find like-minded businesses that will trust you also. And we can help you out. And if you need feedback, we'd love to help you. Okay. You know how FB just created the care emoji? Yes. It's like this now, listening to your live discussion. I used to explain this to my bosses, how employee experience mirrors customer experience, but my suggestions for metrics were shoved aside. Email us. Let's find a way how to help you out with this. Sometimes they just really need information. Again, some people are in denial. Right now, business owners are having a tough time because there's a lot of operational things. So I'll share a bit on that micro community I was working with. In a way, I'm coaching the owner to say, hey, can you give some messages for your for your managers? And he messaged me back privately saying, you know what, I never imagined that I needed to also mentally support my managers. I thought the financial help, the security that I'm providing them now is already enough. So that was also an eye-opening experience for him. This crisis is really tough on everyone. A little less judgment, a little more kindness, a little more understanding, I think, will make things better. Sometimes it's just a matter of communicating, reaching out from the other side. But again, it requires so much empathy. So just email us. We'll we'll reply to all the emails that we receive. Yeah, so we have last 2 minutes. Okay, a lot of robotic empathy. Please email us. We'll answer you. CM executive is hated by every other department. How? You have to raise it. But again, if you're raising about another colleague, you cannot come from a very emotional state. You have to also share some logical facts, like, how did this person affect the results of the company, the performance of other people? Because they cannot act on something out of emotion. They need something that actually affected the performance of the company. That would be the best way. How could we apply the trust experience strategy in hospitality during pandemic? Will it be useful even in the current? Yes, definitely. As long as the brand, the business started operating, day one, they need it. Because you need to increase the level of confidence of customers to come back. So the sooner that they get it right and close the trust gaps, that's the best chance at survival and then eventually accelerating business recovery. So for everyone here, we'd love to just invite you to our website. Please become a SatisFinder. We'd like you to nominate your favorite store or restaurant in your community that you would like to help stay in business, and together let's help them through trust experience. Thank you, Bit, for sharing there.
Wow.
That's her. Thank you so much. Yeah, I spoke too fast. Yeah. I hope I was clear enough. I was in a marathon and a sprint.
I also sent them the URL via chat, SatisFIND.com. So guys, on behalf of the Kickstart team, Bit, Carla, Francis, from the Kickstart portfolio team, of the Kickstart Ventures team, thank you so much. Our utmost appreciation for this wonderful session that we've had today for our guests. I hope, first of all, thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedules to spend almost 2 hours with us today. I really appreciate it. I hope that it was a useful session for everyone. And we hope that you continue to get in touch with us. You know how to find us. You can also message us via Doorkeeper. Otherwise, info@kickstart.ph. Again, thank you for a wonderful afternoon of the 86th edition of Radio Fridge. Last note, keep safe and remain healthy. Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you for this opportunity.
Bye.
Always welcome. Bye.